Good evening, y'all. I know that there's more information that you need to successfully complete the assignments for this course. And with all of these visitors at the tail end, right about the time you need more information, you don't have that. So I'm shooting this video to try to give you a little bit more concrete information to be successful at this. I'm also going to be opening a discussion thread online for you to post any questions, and I'll respond to your discussion thread. I know you have a group me, but I also realize that getting the information directly from me is more helpful sometimes. So this way, if you post a discussion, I'll look at it every few days. If you need an answer quicker than you're getting it, you got my text, prompt me to look at the discussion thread so that you can get that feedback soon. So first of all, here's the first thing for you to know. I'm going to be sending you the things that you could do better, the things that you did well on your initial synthesis of the content. If you notice, in your final, you are expected to do a personal leadership statement, and that's when you're going to be using what you wrote up to write a 300 to 500 word statement about what you believe about leadership. The feedback that I'm giving you on this will help inform how to add it into your final project and that piece of the final. Okay, so just know that. You'll be getting that information, and if you want to talk through any of the feedback I give you, do not hesitate to schedule a time on my scheduler for students so you can make an immediate 20 minutes with me, or we will wind up also being able to do some flexible times. For the remainder of the semester, I'm going to finish out the workshops that I'm doing with you on the project, but for the remainder of the semester, I will stay until 2 o'clock in the room, and you can stay and ask any questions, just in case you can't get on my schedule as fast as you want. But I do know some of you have class immediately following, so the way to do that is the student available times, if any of those are available to you, and if not, then the flexible schedule. So that's issue 1 and 2. You will also be submitting by this evening at, I think it's 11:59, your project report. Now, that project report can be amended and improved in your final submission, and I will take the final grade that you get when you submit all of this material as a portfolio, just so you understand. So you have the chance to, no matter what your grades are now, I will grade you on your final portfolio, which includes your personal leadership statement, in other words, what you do following the feedback I give you later today, your final report, which you will get feedback on what you give me tonight, and then the rest of the information in the portfolio. So you have the ability to go up, you do not have the ability to go down in grades, just so you know. Now, there are 2 other assignments that are outstanding that I know have you concerned. One of those is this Pichakucha. I think that's exactly how to say it. What you will notice is I've amended and enhanced the instructions a little bit, just to be exceptionally directive in some extent, but give you some notion of what I mean by this content. The big points that I will share are these highlighted red pieces. Your 20 screens need to analyze Steve Jobs as your first employer, knowing what you know as a leadership studies minor, so everything you've learned in the minor. And then given that, what are your considerations for leading up to Jobs and across within the corporation as a boss, with him as your boss? So that's the big picture. We've heard that before. I've given you a prompt for how to figure out how to create these programs more easily, but I've included here the list of who's on which team, so you at least have a place where you know who your teammates are. And then the rest of this new information basically gives you a little bit more in depth and an example outline of what your Pichakucha could include. Quit laughing at me, y'all, please. That said, there are 3 sections. The first section is your jobs, your analysis of jobs. What, using your leadership knowledge in this course content, do I know about Steve Jobs as an employer? The second section is leading up to him as a boss. Given what you know about him now, everything you did in your analysis above, What about conflict management, ethical considerations, basically everything else you learned in the minor that you do as a leader, do you need to bring to working with him? So, how are you going to lead up to him to make him more successful as a boss? And what do you need to be thinking about from that angle? Then the final section is leading across to your peers as you as a team are trying to be successful with him. You'll notice that I've given some recommendations of what the slide content could be. That is not you have to do it this way, but it's a way for you to be able to see how to use your content from the minor to successfully think about your work with a future employer. In this case, the simulation is to apply it to Steve Jobs. That would be one outline. If you think that there's something else that you and your team thought were important about this to communicate, then do the same. For each of these slides, you're going to have an image and plan to talk 2 to 3 bullet points or ideas, concepts that picture prompts for you to speak to. Hope that makes sense. Okay. If you need any questions on that, have a conversation with me after class, any of the future classes we have, or put it in the discussion. Okay? Bottom line is each one of you will do your own 20 slides, so there will be 3 separate teams of slides that will be used. And in those 3 teams, you'll answer those 3 questions any way you think best, but this is one way to do that. Last but not least, the other thing that I know that you're a little bit nervous about is this notion of the final. Here is exactly what your final will be. Your final is here. You will find an access to what Hannah's portfolio looks like. In submitting your final, please do it within your portfolio. You're going to update your About Me section for your portfolio, putting your most recent va-va-voom and your most recent resume. And yes, I know that you prepared a resume for today. The goal was for you to be able to look at it based on what you were hearing from your 2 speakers and take that to the next level for when you're submitting it. So you'll submit it here. Then you'll put your final leadership statement here. The instructions are later in this document. But that's going to be taking everything that I'm giving you feedback on later this evening and putting it into here's what you need to hear from me about what I think about leadership and everything I've learned in the program. Then you're going to do your post-college blueprint worksheet. And you're going to add that under the 450, 451 section of your portfolio. And then you're going to organize the LSM content in your portfolio in this order. You have your personal leadership statement that you're finishing, your post-college, and it's your gap analysis self-assessment worksheets that we passed out earlier this semester. And then your priorities. Here's your gap analysis. And for each of these skills, rate yourself. And examples where you've used them. For each of these practices, give examples where you used it in college and rate yourself. And then your plan for how you're going to go forward. And then this serves as what has to be in your portfolio. And it's a checklist of what has to be present in your portfolio when you submit it to me. It's not everything you've done in your portfolio in the past, but it's what must be present in your portfolio for the end of 451. That's what you will be finishing before you go to my house during finals. That gives you the chance to ask some questions at the final meeting, and you will submit just the link to your portfolio, and I will review your portfolio for these pieces. And overall, looking at those other things to see if you've improved your grades, that it might result in a higher score. The feedback that you're getting on both your conceptual synthesis maps and your answers to the big questions, and the feedback that you'll get on your project allows you to have a really clear understanding of how to submit your final portfolio and to get the best grade you possibly could, but more importantly, how to use what you've learned across the minor to be a better leader.
this helps. I look forward to questions in the discussion section.